Well, hello and welcome back, and thank you for coming back. Today we're in downtown Cato Paphos, we're in the harbour square, and there's something special going on, and I've brought with me the most beautiful woman, my Armenian wife, Miss Ochin Grasilia Booth. What have you got to say?
Hello everybody, how nice to see you again and again. We are in a very unusual atmosphere today because I have never seen something that I've seen a few minutes ago, and maybe will never be able to see it in the rest of my life.
Right, come on Booth, let's get down here, because in the in the Cato Paphos harbour area today there is a classic car show, and there's around about 80 to 90 cars. Some of them are cars that I know and some of them are cars that I don't know. So let's have a quick scan around, because there's an old Mercedes which my grandfather used to have. There's a little Fiat 127 Sport which I always dreamed of having. I don't know what it was, but when I was a young man I always wanted one of these, and I always wanted it in black, and it's a cute little car. But you have to understand, LaBouffe, this is a car from the 80s, so cars were much smaller, and I always wanted one of those. Yeah, very cute indeed. That's how it worked in those days. The rear windows popped open. Now, in its day, that was quite a quick little car. I mean, it's a joke today to see that says 70 brake horsepower on the side. But of course, in its day, a car that small and that light probably weighs about 800 kilos. I'll say that again, about 800 kilos. Today, the average car weighs about 1,400 kilos. So that little engine in there, and it was rear-wheel drive, I think, if I remember rightly, or was it front-wheel drive? I'm not sure. But that little thing went like a scalded earwig, as did these little things. So that's a rather nice, souped-up little Mini, and a very nice one indeed. I do like the paint job. That's very nice indeed. And there's a man in a Triumph Spitfire, and that is an authentic, so one would assume it could possibly be the original paint, because that is an authentic colour for a Triumph Spitfire. And I know that because my grandfather was a Triumph car dealer. So when I was a young man, I witnessed many Triumphs, and that one is a very nice one indeed. And that looks like a very proud owner. What's your name, sir?
Brian.
Brian, and is it yours?
Yes.
Now, can I ask you, I know that's an authentic colour, is it the real original paint?
It's French blue.
Yes.
Yeah.
And is it the original paint or the majority of it?
Majority of
it.
We had to have a small job done afterwards, which they couldn't match here.
Good, right.
But it is French blue.
Good. Because my grandfather was a Triumph dealer. So as a young man, I saw quite a few, and I know that is an authentic colour. It's beautiful.
A lifelong ambition.
It's beautiful. Thanks for the viewing, Mr. Brian. Thank you very much. It's an absolutely beautiful little sports car. Absolutely spectacular. Wonderful. Love it. Absolutely wonderful. On the other side over here, we've now got some other cars. It's a good job you came late, because a few of them are arriving late. Look at that one. That is an Austin Healey. Absolutely beautiful. So that's an Austin Healey Mark III, and it's called the 3000 because under the bonnet is a 3-litre petrol straight six engine. Wow, absolutely spectacular. But one of my favourite cars, one of the greatest cars ever made in the world, and a car that ran for almost 20 years in production, is one of them. Very famous from a TV programme called Heart to Heart, and it's an absolutely spectacular car. This one has seen better days, but one would assume it's probably authentic, should we say. LaBouffe, are we boring you to tears?
Sorry?
Are you getting bored?
No.
Quite fascinating. Some of the cars are very nice.
Very interesting.
This is a classic old BMW. This is one of the BMWs that launched BMW into superstardom. This is the, 1602, and then became the 2002 as time went on. Again, a very nice example, very cute, and a very special car. Because it's a car that I say launched BMW into the superstardom, and they became more and more popular. And of course today, well, BMW is one of the most successful car companies in the world. There's one of their early examples again. And there is probably the car most familiar with BMW, probably the car that is associated with the BMW, and most people have heard of the Bmw 3 Series. And that is the car that took BMW into the stratosphere of car manufacture. This was renowned as one of the greatest cars in the world. And it is a testament to their engineering skills and their build quality that car, even today, still, well, it could give many a car manufacturer a run for its money, should we say. Next along the booth, do you recognise that car?
It's a Saab.
It's a Saab.
Is it older?
It's older than yours, yes. Because Miss LaBooth does still have, in her collection of cars, a black. She likes black cars and white cars.
1998.
Yes. Yours is 2005. So yours is a little bit prettier and a little bit sexier and drives a little bit better. And she does love it for the summer because obviously it's got one of those on it and the roof goes down. And Miss LaBooth looks absolutely beautiful as she wafts along the highway with her blonde flex and a black Saab with cream leather. LaBooth?
First of all, how old is the oldest car which are introduced here can be? The oldest car in here?
In here?
The oldest. How
Well,
old?
let's have a look around, shall we? Because that is 70s. That's a Ford Cortina, highly modified as we can see. And the paint is, well, perfection. Very, very nice car indeed. There is a Morgan, which looks very old. But of course, most of them are not that old. A true British sports car built on a wood chassis, which is its biggest problem. Because as years go on, you have to strip the chassis down and rebuild the chassis. Sorry, throw it away and start again. Over there, LaBooth, is a Triumph TR6. Do you want to come and have a look? Now, I understand a lot of people are getting bored, but to a lot of people, cars mean something to them, perhaps from their family background or their youth. Now, that is a Triumph TR6. An absolutely spectacular car, which, again, followed in the footsteps of the TR3 and the 2, and unfortunately ended with the TR7. But as you can see, the TR6 was a great car, and the TR7, well, it wasn't. Let's just put it that way. But look at that. True 60s styling. And when you drive it on the road, you feel as though you're going to go back to that era. It's a truly spectacular car. My grandfather, as I said, was a Triumph dealer. So obviously, when I was a young boy, I saw many, and I was driven around in many. And he had one for a long, long time after he retired, and it was a white one, and he cherished it. He really, really cherished it. And the burble and the growl from the engine is spectacular. In its day, it was a fast car.
You want to hear it?
If we could, sir, if we could. What's your name, sir?
Jim.
Jim. A good man from Scotland, and this obviously is your pride and joy.
And it came from Scotland.
Yes, and it came from Scotland. Wonderful. How long have you owned it, Jim?
10 years.
10 years, which is quite a long time. Because classic cars tend to cost you a lot of money as the time goes on. Wait for it, here it comes. Listen to that. Listen to that burble. Wow. Now, that brings back memories. Thank you, Jim. Thank you, thank you. That truly brings back memories from my childhood, and I hope the people who are watching, perhaps your grandfather owned one of these. They're a splendid car, a spectacular car. Jim is a superstar, and I hope he keeps it for the rest of his life, and I hope he lives a long, long life, and I hope he keeps his hair as well, because he's got a good head.
Not bad for 70.
No, it's not too bad at all, Mr. Jim. Thank you very much, Mr. Jim.
What's
You're a
that
star.
like?
You're a star. We'll give you a card. Hold on a minute. Miss Otching Receiver Booth will present you. Somewhere in my back pocket is a card. Lovely. Thank you, Mr. Jim. That's a wonderful car. And like I say, my grandfather,
That'll be on YouTube.
it'll be on YouTube tomorrow night. I'll put it up tomorrow night. Lovely. Thank you very much, Mr. Jim. You're a superstar. What a wonderful car, and what a wonderful man. And it brought back memories for me, that growl, that rasp. Absolutely, well, I'm an absolute petrol head, if you understand, and it's a fabulous car. Now, as we walked in, I was showing Miss Otching Receiver Booth that, because that is a Scirocco GT. It's nothing special amongst cars, but I had one as a young man. When I was 25, 26, I had one of those. And in fact, mine was exactly the same year, and mine was the Scirocco GT, except mine was in silver, lighter silver. And I loved that car. I really, really did. It was a fantastic car. I say it wasn't that fast, but I was a bit of a lunatic, so I was able to go and keep up with most of the cars, and I really, really loved it, and I wish that I'd never, ever sold it. What do you have to say, LaBooth? What do you think of that car, LaBooth?
Well, when you was a young boy, I believe that car was quite spectacular and representative.
Yes.
And I believe that that was not cheap then.
It was quite an expensive car. If I remember rightly, I think it was 11,000 something pounds,
I like
which
this
doesn't
car.
sound a lot, but it was in 1988. Anyway, have a look at that. This Oching Receiver Booth has fallen in love with that, so perhaps this will be her next new car. Absolutely beautiful. And that's a 2 Series, I think it's called a Grand Coupe. So Miss Oching Receiver Booth at the moment has a 6 Series Grand Coupe. Your new white car.
I have never seen this car before.
That's brand new.
Ah,
So I think it's a 2 Series Grand Coupe. It doesn't tell us what it is, but I think it is. Because it says 2 Series and it's got this sloping rear back. Very, very nice car. And of course it's in blue. Do you want one in the booth? Should we go to Pilacusis and get one?
it's beautiful, yeah.
Yes, it is very nice. It's got a certain je ne sais quoi, and I do quite like it. Yes, it's a very nice car. It's not a classic car, but it's a very, very nice car indeed. And as you come to understand, we're always looking to buy cars. And that's a nice one. So, that'll be your next treat, Miss LeBeau. So start saving your pennies. Now, there's something that perhaps a lot of people are walking past because they don't see it as a classic car, but it is. That's a Mini Moke. Look at that. Absolutely spectacular. And there's the kind owner. What's your name, sir?
My name is Robert, pleased meeting you.
Lovely. Nice guy. Where are you from?
I'm from Holland.
Holland. Excellent. Is this your wife? And your name, madam?
Connie. Connie.
Connie. Lovely. Are you here? Do you live here?
Yes, we live
Yes.
here.
What
Excellent.
is the dog's name?
And well, have a look. Do you use this on a daily basis? Do you use it to drive around Paphos or?
We live in Pistori
Uh-huh.
and I use it on a regular basis.
Yeah,
yes.
I think I've seen it because I do travel quite a lot around the Liverpool area as well, and I'm sure I've seen it because there's a yellow one driving around as well. Look at that, absolutely spectacular. Look at the cushions in the back.
Yeah.
I'll bet you that's really, really comfortable.
Yeah.
We'll have to go for a ride afterwards. Yeah. We'll have to. And there's the dog. What's your name, young man?
His name is Bruce.
Ruse. What a nice dog. Beautiful dog. Beautiful dog. Beautiful. Beautiful dog. Absolutely beautiful. Hey, dude.
Very friendly.
Lovely. Thank you very much, and thank you for coming from Pasura. You're 2 stars. Lovely. And we hope you have a safe trip back. Is this yours as well? No, that's someone else. We'll leave that one. Right, let's go along. Not quite so classic, but it is classic. And that's the Ford Puma. Again, it might take some people back to their youth. This was the hotted up, redressed Ford Fiesta of its time from the late 80s, early 90s. This one is a late 90s, it's one of the last ones. It's a car that will become a classic, that's for sure, because there wasn't that many. It's a very unusual car. It's quite a nice little car for a girl, that's for sure. So, let's pop along here. There's another Mini. Now, Minis they feature in a lot of programs, and they are greatly overlooked because they are one of the greatest cars in the whole history of the motor car, and that one has been blinged up. And it's a very, very nice car indeed. And there's another one over there, which is more standard, should we say. That's actually a factory colour, and it's got a few modifications, but those are factory wheels. And you understand that that car there, in its day, was designed very simply on a piece of paper, and it was designed to carry 4 people cheaply and economically, and it did its job for the next 40 years. Absolutely spectacular. Here's another truly great car, an iconic car from the 60s. There it is. Have a look at that. That's the Citroen Ds. An absolutely, truly spectacular car. A car way ahead of its time with a totally unique suspension. But unfortunately, it was made in France, which was a problem. But it's still a very, very nice car indeed. The booth, what have you got to say?
Well, the front of this car reminds me Cocos.
Does it? Watch your back, the booth. It's a crazy in a minute. Now, let's get over here and have a look at this Range Rover, because the Range Rover, you know what I'm on about now, the Range Rover, which is that one. Not a Range Rover Sport, not a Range Rover this or a Range Rover that. That is the Range Rover. That's the car that started it all. That's the car that took the 4-wheel drive market by storm and made it a little bit more posh. They jacked it up, they jazzed it up, they put a big engine under the bonnet, And that's what they came up with. Absolutely spectacular car. And it's the car that changed the world. Now the majority of the world are driving around in jacked up cars and they want to be in four-wheel drive cars. And the reason is because of that car. My grandfather had one of those, and to be honest, he said it was the worst car he'd ever bought. There was always something wrong with it. It was assembled from various parts from the British Leyland parts bin, and he had it for about 2 years and got rid of it. But I think he said he still sold it at a profit. Then he was a car dealer. I want to go and show you this car over here because obviously I've got some favourite cars. They may not be yours, but they are mine. Look at that. That's a Bmw 6 Series in the greatest colour of all, black. And I'm sure Miss Otching Receivy LaBouffe has fallen in love with that one. Yes, LaBouffe? Do you like it?
They're all beautiful. And as I told you, if we didn't come today, I would never ever see them in a real life.
No.
They all collected here. They represent themselves. They are all wonderful.
Yeah. I mean, just so you understand, Miss Otching Receivy LaBouffe is bored to tears, as probably most of our female subscribers are. But that is a truly iconic car. It's again a car that took BMW to the super stratosphere. It's a car that made the world recognise BMW as one of the greatest car manufacturers in the world. And guess what? My father had one of those and he loved it to bits. He absolutely loved it.
That one is
His was in red.
amazing. That one is
Let me
amazing.
do that one more time. Yeah, well, that's a Morgan. So it's a true British sports car. I think it's the actually only British manufacturer left in the world. So it's the only place in the world which still makes that car, and it is Morgan. And there's still a family member in charge, I'm pretty sure. Is that correct, sir?
No, it's been taken over by an Italian conglomerate. Shame.
Terrible, terrible. See, I should have kept up. But I heard a rumour that the man Morgan had sold out. There we go. Terrible man. He's taken all his money and he's now living off his grandfather or great-grandfather's.
And when you said
Greatness.
it's a British car,
Give them a rip.
it's English.
Well, all right.
Made in Pickersleigh Lane in Malvern.
There we are.
And this one,
Yep.
made in June 1988.
Good.
So it is 34 years
It's
old.
quite old.
Happy birthday.
Have you had problems with the chassis or not?
Never.
Never.
I've had it from new,
Right.
and it's never been a problem.
Yeah, so you've looked after it, you see. That's the beauty of it. If you look after these cars, they will, as they used to say, last you and you will cherish it for your lifetime. So this gentleman bought it, he ordered it, bought it brand new, went to the factory, I would think, to collect it. Am I
No,
right?
I bought it in
That's-
Nicosia. It had been imported into Cyprus
Right, okay.
by the dealer.
Uh-huh.
He obviously ordered it in advance. And I just happened to pass by the showroom one day, and there it was. And I walked straight in and said, I'll have it.
I'll have that. Excellent. Could I ask you, in 1988, how much was it? Do you remember?
9,000 Cyprus pounds duty free.
Duty free, yeah. So the man saved a couple of bob because it was duty free. That's for sure. 'Cause
Price
I've been here
now
long.
in sterling probably about 20,000, 22,000.
Yeah. So, should we say the man, he hasn't made any money, but he hasn't lost any money either, because obviously in those days 9,000 Cypriot pounds was around about 15,000 British pounds. If you'd have put it in a bank and left it there, in those days it was good interest, now it's not interest, now it's negative. But he's had a good investment and a lot of pleasure.
A lot of fun.
And I can see his wife's enjoyed it too, yes? Yes, lovely.
Good,
Lovely.
good
Lovely
idea.
to have met you, sir. Lovely.
Yeah.
It's an absolutely
Are we
beautiful
on
car.
ITV or BBC?
No, something a bit greater than that.
Oh,
YouTube.
greater.
We'll give you a card. We'll give you a card.
Yeah,
Like
do
the
it.
belt.
You like the belt? Yeah, that's very traditional.
Is it?
Yeah. As is the hamper on the back.
Yeah.
And it was quite an expensive extra,
Yes.
because most things are extra. Okay? It's a beautiful car. Absolutely beautiful. It's one of the few cars that my grandfather mentioned that he would want to buy, but for some reason he never did. He was a Triumph dealer.
Oh, Triumph. Okay.
Right. So he owned all of those, obviously.
Now,
He
look
owned
at
various
me.
BMWs.
YouTube.
That's
I
us.
gave him a look.
Have a look. If you want to click and subscribe, please do. Thanks very much. Thank you. Lovely. And you. Right, what a nice guy. He obviously loves his Morgan to bits, that's for sure, and so he should. Lovely. There's another Triumph Spitfire in a traditional colour, and there's a Jaguar. Again, one of the greatest cars known to man. Features in many a bad guys movie, and as many people raced around those, that's for sure. Famous iconic car from the late 50s and the 60s, and it always has appeared in every bad guy movie. It's the bad guy's dream, although a few toffs did drive them as well. So Boo, what have you got to say?
It's beautiful. Show
It is
one
beautiful.
more time,
It is beautiful.
That, panther
Yeah,
jumping out
yeah.
of the car.
Yeah, there's the Jaguar on the front. A truly beautiful car. Absolutely wonderful. Wow.
And the colour of it.
It's a lovely colour, that's for sure. Quite a traditional colour, to be honest. It's an original colour. It's been repainted, obviously.
Actually, what I really noticed from all of these cars, they are quite low.
Yes.
Was it on fashion, or they didn't know how to make it high, except the Jeep styles?
Well, cars have changed over the period of time, and cars have got, should we say, a lot bigger over the period of
Are
time.
they all low? Paul?
Yeah,
It's
they're all
like
quite
you're
low.
Sitting on the,
Yeah.
your arse.
That's just the design of the way it was in those days. Now, this car here is, well, this is probably the greatest Mercedes ever built. And I know people will argue with me, but this to me is an icon. Look at that. It's what's called a Mercedes 126 chassis. People refer to it as an S-Class, which it is, but it's an S-Class before the term S-Class was actually put onto it. So it's a 126 chassis. This one appears to be a Cypriot car from new because it's got cloth interior and the plate. Very nice car indeed. Again, an authentic colour. Quite a basic spec, but still a very, very nice car, that is for sure. Now here we have another famous British car, and it's called, well, have a look at that. It's a Lotus. So that is a Lotus Esprit. This is a car that was Colin Chapman's dream. That's the founder of Lotus Car Manufacturing, and this was his dream and his penultimate car, and he came up with this, and it featured in a James Bond movie, which obviously launched it to superstardom, and the world knows that car. I understand it's a problem car. It had various problems with it, but it was very, very fast, and it handled very, very well. To that. Absolutely wonderful. Now here's a few of the people leaving. So there's an old Triumph TR3. Excellent. Absolutely spectacular. Now I want to take you over here because there's what's called a modern classic that I've spotted just parked up over there. And we've got to be careful because over there there's a bit of music playing in the background. But over here is something quite special. A lot of people have perhaps seen them on TV, but they haven't actually seen them in the flesh, shall we say. Have a look at that. Look at that. Absolutely spectacular. And that's an Ariel Atom 3.5. This thing goes like the absolute clappers. I don't think there's much that will stay with that as it goes around the Nuremberg track. I think at one stage it held the record for being the scariest and fastest car in the world around that track. Anyway, the music is booting up, so we're going to go back to see the man with the Morgan, and we're going to have a very, very big goodbye from Miss Ochin Rasivula booth. And you never know, he might even let her sit on the bonnet. I doubt it. I doubt that very, very much. But the man is a true superstar. You stand in front of the booth, because I think that that car is the star of the show. That's what I think. And the man as well, and his beautiful wife. So the booth, there we go. Let's have a big goodbye.
Thank you very much for watching us. Thank you. We totally enjoyed it. And these people are so
Wonderful.
happy.
Absolutely
Thank you.
wonderful.
Thank
Do
you.
you know, the thing about this car, people have walked by and smiled.
Yeah.
It just makes people
It does.
smile.
It's that.
Yes.
It does.
It's such a fun car.
It does. Yeah.
That's
right.
because it's so unusual. You hardly can imagine that the people many years ago could drive this car, and it still exists. It's still alive. What can be better?
Lovely.
Yeah, you're returning back yourself. You know, I have seen it only in American English films. You understand?
So,
thank you so much.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very, very much.
You brought
And
us
to your good lady wife. Thank you.
Good luck, good luck.
Thank you.
brought us happiness.
But it's a beautiful car, in a beautiful colour, and it brings back fond memories for the gentleman and for us as well. Thanks for watching.
Well,